everybody, thank you so much for tuning in again. First things first, I just have to say a huge thank you to everyone who has given me some feedback so far. I've been working really hard on these videos, trying to make them as clear and as fun as possible, and hearing your thoughts has really helped me. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about rhythm. Now, rhythm is a very cool but kind of confusing part of music, so I'll be aiming to break it down into its most simple form so that you can feel really confident reading and playing some of the more basic rhythms. Throughout this video, I'm going to be referring to something called time signatures. If you're not too sure what time signatures are or how they work, I highly recommend watching my other video on time signatures before finishing this one. I promise it will help. So without further ado, let's get started. Music lessons with Miss Westwood. Yay! So first of all, we need to define what rhythm is. Simply put, the rhythm tells you when you are supposed to play your notes and how long they go for. A lot of people get confused between note names like A, B, and C and rhythm names like ta and TT, and that is totally fair because we have so many nicknames for everything, it can all get mixed up really easy. The best thing you can do is to keep it simple. When we are talking about pitches, that is talking about how high or low the note sounds. To remember your note names, you'll be using things like face in the space or every good boy deserves fruit. Rhythm tells us how many times we play each pitch and how long it goes for. So to recap in as few words as possible, the rhythm tells us how short or long a note is, and it tells us when to play it. Got it? So that is basically what it is. So now let's talk about what it looks like, what it's called, and how it works with our time signature. The way rhythms are written looks complicated, but if you think about it simply, it's easier to understand. The rule of thumb is that the scarier the note looks, so the more complicated it looks, the shorter the note is. For example, this note is called a semibreve or whole note. It looks really simple and it goes for 4 beats. This note is what we call a semiquaver. It looks really tricky and that means it's really short and it's actually worth a quarter of a beat. Not even a whole beat, a quarter of it. When you are reading your music, you will notice that a lot of the notes look really, really similar. So if you just remember the basic rule of the scarier it looks, the shorter it is, that'll put you back on the right path to figuring out how long or short your note should be. Now let's look at some rhythms we use right from the beginning of our books. The first note we are going to learn about is probably the most popular note, and it is ta. The proper name for a ta is a crotchet, but a lot of other people call it a quarter note, and that's okay. The most important thing to remember is that it looks like this, and it goes for 1 beat. Notice how the note head, which is the circle, is coloured in and it has a stem. Now, if we were going to write a bar's worth of music using only our 1 beat tars, what would it look like? Well, if we were to use our favourite time signature of 4/4, also known as common time, we know that there are going to be 4 beats in a bar. We know this because the top number of our 4/4 time signature is a 4. If you remember from my time signature video, the bottom number tells us what type of notes we use. When it's a 4 at the bottom, that means we are using tar beats. Therefore, we must have 4 of these 1 beat notes in every bar for it to be correct. We can check if we have filled up our bar correctly by adding the value of every note and making sure it comes up to 4. If it comes up to anything other than 4, we need to adjust our notes. So let's check. If we have 1 tar, which is worth 1 beat, and we add another tar, we have 2 beats worth of rhythm. That's excellent, but it's not enough to fill up our 4 beat bar. So we need to add not 1, but 2 more tars. When we have 4 tars in a bar, that means we have 4 1 beat notes, and that means our bar is full and correct. 4 tars in a bar will sound like this. Ta, 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 ta. Now you and I both know there are way more rhythms than tars, so let's talk about them. The next note we will be learning about is called the 2-oo, also known as a minim or a half note. This note goes for exactly 2 beats and it looks very similar to the tar. The only difference is that the note head, which is the circle, is not coloured in. It still has a stem though. Because we did not colour it in, that means this note is less complicated, therefore it is a longer note. This note is worth 2 beats. If we wanted to use these notes in a bar of 4/4 time signature, we would have to treat them a little bit differently because even though these notes are longer, there are still only 4 beats in a bar. If we were to try to add 4 2-oos to a bar of 4/4, how many beats would we have? Let's count. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 8, which is way too many beats. Therefore, we need to use less 2 oohs. So let's start by using just one minim. That makes 2 beats. But we need to come up to 4, so let's add another one. And if you're very good at maths, you'll know that obviously 2 plus 2 equals 4. So that means it's the right amount. That's how it works. If you're watching this and thinking it is really easy, good. Keeping it simple is the best way to handle it. So if you don't quite get it just yet, just rewind and watch it again, and maybe even pause every now and then so you can let the information sink in. So what if we wanted to create a more interesting song that used a combination of minims and crotchets? We would have to first make sure that our bars are complete. So let's have a look at a few examples. We could go to, oo, ta, ta. Or we could go ta, ta, to. We could even go ta, to, ta. So long as it adds up to 4, you can use any combination. Okay, so let's look at our last note for this video, which is the ta, ah, also known as the semibreve or whole note. This is what it looks like, and as you can see, it is very similar to our minim in that the note head is not coloured in, but it doesn't have a stem. Because of this, I feel like it's quite safe to say that this note looks quite simple and not really scary. That means it's going to be a really long note. Now, because our first 2 notes were 1 beat and 2 beat, you might be thinking that this is worth 3 beats. It's actually not, it's worth 4 beats. If we wanted to use this note in a bar of 4/4, we would only be able to fit 1 note into each bar because it's already worth 4 beats. When we say this rhythm, we say ta, ah, ah, ah. That helps us measure out the 4 beats evenly. If we're not trying to keep our beats even, what's the point of using rhythm in the first place? So let's do a quick test to see how well you understood all of it. If you don't think you got it right, don't stress. Just go over it again and again and again until you've got it. Everybody learns at their own pace, and one day it'll just click for you if you keep at it. Okay, so on the screen below, there are 2 bars worth of rhythm. At the beginning of these 2 bars, you will see our time signature. Our time signature says 4/4, which means we must have the equivalent of 4 crotchet beats in every single bar. We know it's 2 bars because, we have these 2 separate boxes that are separated by a bar line. Within these 2 bars, we have a combination of the 3 rhythms we have discussed today. Our 1 beat ta, our 2 beat to oo, and our 4 beat ta, ah, ah, ah. Have a go at saying and clapping the rhythm below. Make sure that you are counting all of your notes for the correct amount of time. Okay, I'll count you in. Good luck. 1, 2, 3, 4. How did you go? If you got it, great. If you didn't, great. Just try again. And if you don't know, that's okay. Just try it again. So the answer, if you did this, you were correct. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, ta, 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 ah, ah, ah. So after doing this test, realize any notes that you may have had a little fumble on. If there were some notes, repeat them a few times, reading it, saying it, clapping it, and then doing it again. This will help you with your reading and your playing. Excellent work, everybody. So let's recap what we learned today. 1. The rhythm tells us not only when to play our notes, but how long they go for. 2. We have different symbols which tell us how long or short a note should be. The more complicated the symbol looks, the shorter the note's going to be. 3. When we are writing rhythms and songs, we need to make sure they add up correctly so that it matches our time signature. 4. The 3 rhythms we covered today were the ta, also known as a crotchet or a quarter note, and it goes for 1 beat. The to, which is also known as a minim or a half note, and it goes for 2 beats. And finally, the ta, ah, 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 which is also known as a semibreve or a whole note, and it goes for 4 beats. 5. Finally, when we clap and say these rhythms, we need to make sure we are saying them in time so that all of our beats are measured out to be the same length. So there you have it. I know this video covered a lot, so if you feel like you didn't quite get everything, feel free to rewind and watch any parts again. Very soon I'll be creating a video about how rhythm and pitch works together, so stay tuned. Keep working hard, be kind to your families, and stay safe. Bye for now. We know it's 2 bars because, oh my god,